Hi, boys and girls. We're going to continue. Mr. Granite is from another planet. Chapter 4, Going Green. Boy, Mr. Granite wasn't kidding about making elementary school green. Everybody was doing their part to save energy and help the environment. Miss Lazar, our school custodian, put solar panels up on the roof to collect sun rays and turn them into electricity. Mrs. Lazar is bizarre. Miss Hannah, our art teacher, hates throwing stuff away. She told us to bring in plastic bags from home instead of throwing them in the garbage. She showed us how to make plastic bags into butterflies, kites, and dream catchers. Miss Hannah is bananas. Mr. Docker, our science teacher, is off his rocker. He has a car that runs on potatoes instead of gas. Mr. Docker converted the school bus to run on potatoes too. And Miss Annie helped Mrs. Yonkers, our computer teacher, to hook up potatoes to power the school computers. So now he says that PC stands for potato computer. Mrs. Yonkers is bonkers. Mrs. Cooney, our school nurse, brought a huge tub of toothpaste to school to use one day. It was about the size of a first grader. Miss Cooney's loony. She said that when you buy large sizes of stuff, you don't have to go shopping so often and less waste, and you save money too. Miss LaGrange, our lunchroom lady, told us to pack our lunches in reusable containers instead of plastic bags so we would have less garbage. She also brought in a bunch of cows to graze on grass in the field behind the school. Now the lawn doesn't need to be mowed anymore, and we get free milk too. I don't know where Mrs. LaGrange got cows. I guess she went to rent a cow. You can rent anything. Mrs. LaGrange is strange. Mrs. Rupee, our librarian, read us a book about how trees give off oxygen, which is good stuff, and absorbs carbon dioxide, which is bad stuff. Then she helped us plant a tree in the middle of the library. Miss Rupee is loopy. And Mr. Klutz, well, he put up a giant windmill in the field behind the school. When the wind turns the blades of the windmill, it makes electricity. The whole school was going green. Part of the reason that was we all knew it was good to save energy and reduce waste. The other part was that that we all like chocolate cake. Do any of you have other ideas to help the environment? Mr. Granite asked us while we were pedaling to nowhere. Little Miss I Know Everything was waving her hands in the air like she was trying to signal a boat across the ocean. But Mr. Granite called on me instead, so nanny nanny boo boo on Andrea. I know a way to save energy, I said. You could close the school down and let us stay home all day. Then we could sit around and do nothing. That would save lots of energy. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. How about you, Andrea? Asked Mr. Granite. Can you think of another way we can help the environment? We could use both sides of every scrap of paper, Andrea said. Then we could recycle it. That's an excellent idea, Andrea, said Mr. Granite. Andrea stuck her tongue out at me. What is her problem? Oh, snap, Ryan, whispered Ryan. Andrea stuck her tongue out at you, AJ. Are you going to take that? At Andrea's house, I told the class, they use both sides of the toilet paper. Then they recycle it. That's gross, Arlo, Andrea said. So's your face, I told her. Oh, snap, said Brian. Chapter 5, Goo Goo Gaga. We were just about to get on our exercise bikes the next morning when the school secretary, Miss Patty, made an announcement over the intercom. Teachers, please do not throw your teacups around the teacher's lounge. Thank you. That was weird. Okay, pals, said Mr. Granite. The time for language arts, so start pedaling. We all started pedaling, but we didn't learn anything about language arts because you'll never believe in 1,100,000 years who walked into the door at that very moment. Nobody. Because if he walked into a door, it would hurt. But you'll never believe who walked into the doorway. It was our old teacher, Mrs. Daisy. She was with her husband, Mr. Mackey, who is our reading teacher. We hadn't seen Mrs. Daisy since we graduated from 2nd grade in June. Mrs. Daisy, we all shouted. Mrs. Daisy, said Mr. Granite, what do we owe the pleasure of your company? That's grown-ups talk for, what are you doing here? I miss my kids, she replied. We missed you too, said Andrea, the big brown noser. Miss Daisy was holding something in her arms, but we couldn't see what it was because it was wrapped up in a pink blanket. Did you bring us a present? I asked. Not exactly, said Mr. Mackey. It's a baby, dumbhead, shouted Andrea. Miss Daisy had her baby. All the girls rushed over to look at as if the baby is a big deal. What's her name? Andrea asked. Jackie, said Mrs. Daisy. Jackie Mackey. What a lovely name, Emily said. She's beautiful. She's adorable, Andrea said. She stinks, I said, holding my nose. I think Jackie just pooped, said Mr. Mackey. We'll change her diaper in a minute. I wasn't going near that thing, especially after it pooped. But all the girls were gooing and guying and cooing and saying goo goo gaga to Jackie Mackey. All the babies said goo goo gaga. Nobody knows why. It must be the first rule of being a baby. I think Jackie looks like you, Mrs. Daisy, said Emily. No, I think Jackie looks like you, Mr. Mackey. I think she looks like Mr. Klutz, I said. She's as bald as a balloon. Arlo, that's mean, said Andrea. Well, it was true. All babies look alike anyway. Jackie Mackey started drooling, and then she started blowing spit bubbles. Then she put her feet in her mouth and started sucking on her toes. I thought it was pretty disgusting, but the girls thought it was cute. I know that if I started drooling in school, blowing spit bubbles, and sucking on toes, nobody would think that was cute. I would probably get kicked out of school. Wah! Jackie Mackey cried. Wah! I think she bit on her own toe. Jackie might be poopy some more, said Mrs. Daisy. We better go now. Babies are weird. Chapter 6. English is weird. Okay, everybody back on your bikes, Mr. Granite said. It's time for language arts. Ugh, I hate language arts. Language is boring. Arts is boring. So there's nothing more boring than language arts. Except maybe math. Math is really boring. There are some things I don't understand about the English language, Mr. Granite told us. Like what? Said Andrea. Little Miss Know-It-All keeps a dictionary on her desk so she can show everybody how smart she is. Why is it that nose run and feet smell? Mr. Granite replied. Shouldn't it be the other way around? What do you mean? Asked Emily. Well, it seems to me that feet should run and noses should smell, Mr. Granite says. So why do people say noses run and feet smell? It's just an expression, said Michael. It makes no sense, said Ryan. My feet don't smell, I said. They do too, AJ, said Neil, the new kid. When you had that sleepover at your house, I had to sleep with your feet in my face. And a nose will run if it had legs, Michael said. Feet could smell if they had a nose, said Ryan. Yeah, if I had a nose attached to your foot could smell, I pointed out. Arlo, you're just trying to get out of doing math next period, said Andrea. I am not. R2. We went back and forth like that for a while until Mr. Granite told us to knock it off. Why are there no eggs in eggplants? Asked the class. Why is there no ham in hamburgers? Hot dogs aren't made of dogs, and pineapple don't have apple in it. Or pine, for that matter. Mr. Granite is right, said Ryan. English is weird, I said. Why are boxing rings square? Asked Mr. Granite. If they're rings, they should be round. Yeah, some of the girls agreed. If one tooth and another tooth are teeth, Mr. Granite said, and one goose and another goose are geese, why aren't one moose and another moose meese? Yeah, Neil said. What's up with that? Why do we play a recital and recite at a play asked Mr. Granite. When a house burns up, how can it also burn down? And why do we drive on Parkway and park on a driveway? Yeah, everybody shouted. Mr. Granite's right, I said. The English language is messed up. If you ask me, we should complain. Who are you going to complain to, Arlo asked Andrea. The president, I said. We should write a letter to the President of the United States. Andrea rolled her eyes, but Mr. Granite said that writing a friendly letter to the President was a great idea. So nanny boo-boo on Andrea. Mr. Granite passed out a piece of paper to everybody. It's hard to write while you're riding a bike, so I kept my letter short and sweet. Dear Miss President, I'm a third grade student at elementary school. I don't think it's fair that your feet smell. Do you have a nose attached to your feet? Sincerely, AJ.